What's going on? Could you hear me? What I just was saying, or was I just talking for
I
nothing?
I couldn't hear anything.
You
Yeah,
could
that's why I
hear
was
nothing.
pointing to my ear like I can't hear it. Can't hear it.
Welcome to another episode, another Tuesday at 9. Prototype Dad. What's going on, fellas?
How you doing? How you doing?
Another
Man,
day,
just
another day.
living the dream, you know what I mean? Round of applause for us.
Oh, we in this bitch.
What
There
up?
you
What up?
go.
We in the camp. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying? What's going on, fellas?
man, just keeping it family friendly, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we got the family in here. You know what I'm saying?
What's
We
happening,
got
guys?
CEO Steve. You know what I'm saying? We got Sammy Sweetheart. We got Uncle Arthur. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Y'all in there deep.
We in there. We working in the weekdays into the night and on the weekends
Okay, I got you. I
as
got you. I
usual.
got you. Per usual. Oh, that's what that is. The dog check camp.
Yeah, we in the camp. You know what I'm saying? I know I ain't had you up here yet, kid. To give you a little tour. You know what I'm saying? This is the podcast. Are you out there? You know what I'm saying? This is my desk.
Oh, you got a desk.
So I did.
Hey, having a
Yeah.
desk alone motivated me to become a software engineer. I ain't gonna lie.
But you know,
But
while we brainstorming, you know what I'm saying? You throw a dart, you know what I'm saying? Or you might want to, you know what I mean, work on your short game. You know what I mean?
period.
You know what I'm saying? Or listen, if you're having a stressful day, you're getting a lot of no's, you know what I'm saying? You might have to, you know what I mean?
Sit back and throw one back.
Go on back, man. Get your mind back right. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we just all the brainstorming.
What's
Yeah,
going on?
man.
We
With
got
the
we
class.
got my man Rod. Welcome back to the show.
What's up, King? How you doing?
Man, just trying to live it through. You know what I'm saying? He's the one. Hey, if you need any graphics, logos, this is my guy. This is
Yeah.
where I get all my graphics done at. Um, my man's official, nothing but A1 service, man. Like
Yeah,
he
we've
holds
been
it.
working together for like 3 years now, right?
Man,
3, 4 years.
has it been 3 years? That's kind of an accomplishment, yo.
Yeah, it is.
Like you know what I mean? Like having a partnership that long, you know what I mean? And never nothing goofy, never you know how it go.
Right.
Always up and up. Solid. No, that's something to be celebrated. We gotta go have one. Um, Mr. Lee for Scales, what's going on?
What up? What up? What up?
You know, clap it up for everybody.
What up, Leaper?
What up, guys?
So listen. Today's episode, right? I kind of want to dig into where it all started, where our fatherhood journey started, right? Um, those were very testing times for me personally when I first, knew I was going to become a father, and then I had to overcome a lot of emotional stuff, a lot of things I thought about, just all kind of things I thought about, ways that I thought things would go, um, things that made me happy, didn't make me happy, all kind of stuff, right? So I know we all had our journeys at that point. Um, so let's get into the first question, right? At the point of conception, man, let's talk about when we made the decision to let that thing go and say, "Hey, it's in there now." You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about how that happened and what we were thinking and how we felt about it. So who want to pick up the first one?
Real
Uh
quick, because I'm gonna have to change location after this testimony. But
okay.
uh, anytime. I mean, I have 4 children, father of 4. I've had multiple almost as you know what I'm saying, and just misses. But whenever I let go, and decided that it was going to be what it is, like I don't know if it was the immaturity in me or just like the just overthinking or whatever, but I always sought comfort in like I guess it would be like a final plea or not even a plea, just the what I would have to say to the girl, what I would end up saying to the girl. And once my mind was made up that it was out of my hands and I would have that conversation, it would ultimately end with me saying, well, I mean, ultimately, it's your body, it's your decision. I'm with you either way. And that was just me like giving myself an out and, you know, giving her one, but also letting her know that like, I'm not saying get an abortion too, because I don't want to be a dick. You know what I'm saying? But that's yeah, that was it. Like, I'm down for whatever you want to do. Like, I'm good either way. Like, I understand that, you know, it wasn't planned, but we're here now.
I like that. I like that. You know, actually, that deserves a round of applause for being supportive. You know what I mean? Who want to pick up the next one?
I mean, I guess I got it. It's crazy for me because I just had my first biological, you know, child 9 months ago. So, you know what I mean? I'm kind of fresh and new to it, you know, in that regard. For me, like when it was
Congratulations.
all thanks. So when it was all happening, you know what I mean, in the mix of it, it was like in my head I had convinced myself like I got perfect kids right now. I'm good. I don't need to have no more. So I'm like, I was cool in my head and I was done. So I really wasn't, you know, thinking on expanding in that way anymore. And then now finding out like, okay, this is happening. This is happening for real. So it's like in my head, I'm like, I need to be supportive. I need to, you know what I mean? I need to be cool, calm, and collected and be there and, you know, emotionally. And I probably wasn't. Probably the opposite of that. Because for me, it was like, man, I always told myself I didn't want to be no old dad. You know what I mean? Because I watched a lot of that, you know, the old dad stuff. And, you know, they be mad relaxed and they be letting a lot of stuff slide that normally you wouldn't have let slide. And, you know what I mean? You lose a little step or two, you know, trying to chase them around. So, you know, I was probably a little less supportive than I should have been early on, you know, and I, you know, I got a lot of thoughts and regrets about that. But you know, it was a stressful situation initially because I just had to wrap my head around this. Like, we about to start all over. You know what I mean? Like, I got a 15-year-old. I'm like, I had a couple more years. She out the house, you know. But now I'm starting all over. I'm like, man. So you know, it was definitely like crazy for me. You know what I mean? And I just had to figure that out. You know what I mean? And like I said, really wrap my head around it and try to come around to it. And I mean, if you probably asked her, she'd probably say I was horrible. But you know, it's just one of those things that I just I wasn't prepared for. You know.
Raj, you want to take the next swing?
No, I'm gonna hop on the next question. My situation was kind of crazy too, and I had kids at a young age. So I had 4 kids before I was like 25. So it was pretty stressful for me too. But I was pretty. I mean, I stayed supportive to her, and like I stayed with my kid's mom when she had them. So anything, whatever slack she had, I was picking it up, and you know, vice versa. So we was kind of working pretty well together. So it was stressful, but it was manageable.
What about you, Dex? What was your feelings when when you let that thing go? Like what was the thing? Was like, you know what? I'm just gonna impregnate this one.
So it wasn't
For
just
the
like
first
that.
time,
It
yeah, for the
happened just
first
like
time. We
that.
talk about first time or the second time. All of it. Like, whatever. Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
me how'd you make the decision to be like, you know what? I'm gonna just let this one go out there and see what happened.
I mean, it wasn't like that, but it was more, you know, we did have like we were planning, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we were planning for this. Like we were married already like 4 years at the time. And I was in my like early 30s. I was like 31 when my daughter was born. So, you know, it didn't just happen. It wasn't like I'm gonna just let this one go. But yeah, there was like some preparation that went into it. You know what I mean? But you can't always be 100% prepared for kids, anyways. But like we were by ourselves, like we were living away from family and stuff, so we had to go through that struggle of figuring that out and the lifestyle change and all that stuff that came along with it. But yeah, I mean, we decided we wanted to do it and we did it.
So for my first one, it was this is the last time I'm gonna see you, and this is the last time I'm gonna see you, and I'm gonna let this one go. And I didn't think I could really impregnate anybody, at that young age. I've let the shot go plenty of times before I've actually conceived another person, and it was just like, what's going to be different between any other one? You know what I mean? So for me, I just let it go, thinking, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Because I've been here so many times before. So I was really careless about it. You know what I mean? And for me, like I said, it was like the last time I'm gonna see you, that good old last one. And I didn't even speak to her for a while, and then she hits me like a month later. So like, hey, there's something in there. Something's brewing. And I'm like, dang.
That happened with my first daughter. Because me and her mom were at odds. We hated each other.
Yeah, hey, right. Same at it, right? And I was just like, yo, this is like when she hit me with that, I was just, I gave her the, so what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? But I knew what I wanted to happen, you know what I mean? And we actually took those steps, like, start, doing our research on, how to get an abortion and that kind of thing. And we was basically there, and then something talked to me. It was just like, yo, remember, I was in that dark space. Like, hey, you're gonna be a good dad. You might need this win to get you over. And I kind of talked her into like, look, I'm gonna be a good dad, and I know you're gonna be a good mom. Just thinking that all women are, nurturing or whatever, genetically or whatever. But I was like, well, I know I'm gonna be a good dad. Let's have this thing. And if it's my boy, then you know what I'm saying? Like the second coming to me, I'm here. I'm gung ho for it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that was kind of how that happened, right? That journey of, I thought it was just another, activity at the moment. Didn't think nothing much of it, and later on, it was hit with the, I'm pregnant, and now I had to like double think and how I was going to approach that. You know what I mean? So it was definitely like different, emotional, and that's actually going to slide us into the next question, right? So like, how'd you guys feel when you found out the sex of the baby? Who's taking the first swing?
I was fine with it. I didn't really have a preference either way, but I was fine with it.
All right, he was fine. Everybody else got the same answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know what? I was fine. Like in the back of my head, I was like, yo, if I got a son, man, I'm cool. I'm done because I got a daughter. If I get a son, I'm good. So in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, it'll be great to have a son. But also, I was thinking, man, either way, it don't matter because I'm like, my daughters. I have a daughter, man. You know how the daughters be around dad most of the time. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm gonna have my ride or die. She's gonna be daddy's girl. And I was like, so if I have a girl, I'm gonna be cool as heck with that. But I'm like, if I got a little G, oh, like I'm gonna teach him so much stuff. So I was like happy about them both. So I was just like, I was cool with whatever it was. But part of me was like, I kind of want a son so I could have that name passing on. You know what I mean? And not just have another daughter that's gonna get some other nigga's last name. So
That
Yeah, I'll jump in. So when I was younger, I remember telling, always having that, oh man, I hope I don't have no girl children. I hope I don't have no girl children, like, just worrying and all that type of stuff. But my first child was a girl, is a girl. And I mean, once she was born, healthy, all of that, like I didn't have, any problem with it, man. Like you see how I am with her, man. Like I pretty much, she kind of runs things a little bit, but I put the restrictions there at the same time, man. But
They be
I love
running
my
everything.
daughter.
So mine was different, right? You know how you guys are all like, whatever I have is cool, blah blah blah. Blah. It changed my entire mood. It changed my entire existence on how I communicated with her. Like I was going to every doctor's appointment. We was going to Lamaze, I think it's called, like yoga. Like I was all up. I was up under her, around her. Just, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you got my boy in there. You got my boy in there. And we went to the doctor for that one for that one appointment, and they said it was a girl. Everything changed instantly. You know what I'm saying? I was so scared to have a girl because it was like I don't know what to do for a girl. You know what I mean? Like I know what to do for a boy easily. I can raise that. I was looking forward to that. But for a girl, I just had no clue. Right? Like you hear so many stories, and I done dealt with so many. You don't know how not to make a raise a girl not to be out in the streets. We'll say. You know what I mean? How can I keep this little girl from the streets? I had no clue. You know what I'm saying? And there was nobody, you know, I don't know if everybody that was at a real strong point in my. I guess I was having red pill rage at the time. You know what I mean? I don't know if y'all know what that means, but that's what I was going through at that moment. Where like no woman was actually good. You know what I mean? I was like, they're all evil. I was devastated, and from that moment on, I think for the rest of the pregnancy, I was like non-existent for real. For the first one, you know what I mean. I got three other stories to go along with how I felt the process, but for that first one, man, it was just like it was tough. You know what I mean? It was a tough one to deal with, but they all were tough. You know what I mean? And I could just kind of sum up all my processes. Um, I never appreciated the woman I was with during those pregnancy times. It was one of the hardest times in my relationships because the attitudes, they're different people. I'm not liking what I'm not getting at home, but I'm not liking how they're treating me at home. It's completely like I was planning on an exit based off of these pregnancies. Like these pregnant times, I was planning on a purebred, like I'm breaking away from all of this. I'm gonna get a baby a year. I'm thinking in my head like a exit plan. Like after about a year, I'm done. Like I'm gonna just make sure the baby like is alive for a year and then I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? There's no way I'm staying in this. If this is what I'm going to, this is what I'm dealing with. So those pregnancies, all four of them, were quite rough for me. Like you know what I mean? So I don't know if anybody want to elaborate on any of that, on how you felt throughout the whole entire pregnancy.
I mean, I for me, I was going through the motions. You know what I mean? Because like I said, for me, it was my like first actual time dealing with this monster. You know what I mean? Of idea of bringing a new life into this world. So for me, it was like it took me a while to really wrap my head around what was going on because I had really communicated with myself like I'm good with what we got. Like we don't need nothing new. You know what I mean? I like our family how it is. So as this stuff is happening, it's just like I'm at every appointment. I'm at it, you know what I mean? I'm at all the doctor stuff. I'm doing all the Googling for, parenting, and I'm going through all the little classes. But with the COVID stuff going around, most of the classes was online. So I'm doing all the little CPR classes and Heimlich maneuver, the baby Heimlich maneuver class and stuff like that. I'm doing all this stuff on this side, but in my head, I'm like just going crazy. Like I'm not sure how this stuff is gonna work out, how I'm gonna work it out, and how to actually not show what's really going on in my mind to my wife, so she's not afraid. You know what I mean? So she feels comfortable with everything that's transpiring, and she you know what I mean. She knows I'm there to support. And like I said, I didn't do a good job of that, but it was just like rough terrain till about maybe 8 8 months. You know what I mean? About 8 months. Then I was like, you know, I was coming around to everything after, you know, all the doctor's visits and everything. And, you know, it was definitely an experience, you know what I mean? It was definitely an experience. And I know if another one, you know, was to come or transpire, you know what I mean? I know I'm not gonna be in that same brain space. Or at least
So
if I am in that same brain space, I'm not going to project it as much as I project.
what would you do different, right? So I guess what would you do to be more supportive or show your true emotions during the process?
Well, for one thing, I wouldn't like because I'm always been an honest dude. Like as far as like say honest, so I say honest, some say reckless. You know what I mean? Like, but I've always been boisterous about how I feel in any moment, and I think a lot of that boisterousness, you know, was not called for in some of those moments. Or maybe it was called for, but maybe it wasn't a good thing to do in those moments, especially dealing with, you know, somebody whose hormones is all over the place and they're, you know what I mean, producing another life and they have all this stuff going on in their bodies. Like I was saying some stuff that I probably should have just kept to myself or just ate up, you know what I mean? And I think next time around, if there's a next time around, uh, I would keep a lot of that stuff to myself. I would be a lot more supportive and stop asking questions and just do whatever it is that, you know, she feels that I need to do so I can be
So
there for her.
you gonna be a yes man? You gonna turn into a straight yes
Not
man?
necessarily a yes man, but you know what I mean, a supportive man. So you know what I mean, and that support is different than just being a yes man because you know I'll correct moments, you know, when stuff is just crazy, but at the same time, you know, I don't want you know we ain't no spring chicken, so you know what I mean. I don't want any issues to arise due to stress or you know what I mean anything that I'm putting on her plate. So I want to make sure that I'm communicating my support and not only just communicating but showing it through my actions. And I think that's where a lot of that stuff got messed up in you know in this the most recent pregnancy is just like you know I'm doing this stuff, but when you can see my you know my facial expressions and you can see my you know you can sense my attitude and stuff like it wasn't necessarily in line with the stuff that I was doing. So it was like you know my smile wasn't matching my handshake. So I was like it wasn't the right move. So I feel like next time around, I know how to govern myself a little better. You know what I mean? To hold my anxieties and my worries to myself in order to be the right supportive person for my wife.
I don't know if that's necessarily to hold that stuff in. I don't think that's the healthy move.
Well, I'm going to communicate it with my guys all day. You know what I mean? Y'all going to have to be my outlet. You know what I mean? Through that moment, but she can't be my outlet. You know what I mean? I can't speak honestly about how I'm feeling in my head and all the emotions that are going through my mind at the time with her because I need her to be physically healthy and that with human beings period, but with women they're attached to those emotions. Like those emotions have real physical outcomes. So I want to make sure that she's the healthiest as can be. And that rhetoric that I was spewing out was it just wasn't a good look, man. And it's so you know if there is a next go round, man, I definitely won't. I'll definitely
You
won't
keep
do the
saying this
same.
next go around. That's I something trembles inside of me every time you say next go around, next go around. Like I'm like
Because as I always say, man, if you're not trying intentionally not to, then you're open to it happening. And it's you know we grown at this point, so shoot, anything can happen at any time. So you know what I mean. I'm not a single young kid no more. So you know we out here Yosemite Sam in the club up.
Don't know what's gonna happen.
Which I got chime in how y'all felt about, your emotions and what you did to be supportive during those times, right? So a lot of young guys might listen to this, and they might be looking for a way to go about being supportive. What's the best ways? What's some do's and don'ts? How you guys feel about that, Dex and Rob?
I just tried to make sure that I was supportive. I was going to all of the appointments with her, so she didn't feel like she was in it by herself. And just try to make sure like she was cool and we didn't have too much friction, because like I said, I was young when I was having these kids, so they like to threaten you a lot if they get upset. So it was just I feel like I was walking on eggshells with them, but it kind of worked in my favor, because I feel like if I had reacted to the stuff that was going on, it was just purely been from my ego and stuff like that. So I just tried to make sure I was there for her to ease whatever she was going through, for real.
Yep. So pretty much the same thing, man. Like definitely attend all the appointments, right? That's an easy way to show support right there. But then maybe just don't be the source of new stress, right? Because it's already a stressful situation that she's going through. So whatever you can do to not add to that, just be mindful of certain things, right? Like help out where you can, like take certain things off maybe her plate, stuff like that, so she don't have to worry about it. And the whole goal is to make sure the baby's healthy, right, at the end of the day. So whatever you can do to help facilitate that, that's the focus.
So ain't nobody go get no pickles and ice cream, nothing outlandish, and ain't nobody fulfill none of those roles.
Oh yeah,
like
we did the late night fast food pickup, but it wasn't nothing too crazy.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
So we just kind of talked about our emotions, about the pregnancy process, and how we felt and what we did to make that whole pregnancy either terrible or pleasurable. So just talk about some of the things you did in your 4 rounds, your 4 trips around the planet. You know what I'm saying, that you felt that made it pleasure, that you did to kind of make the situation better, or that you did to make it worse.
All right, my situation, everyone's situation is unique, obviously, but I have 4 children, like I mentioned before, all to the same woman, and also it's an interracial relationship. So I have 4 biracial children. So there was a huge learning curve because I was raised pretty much as a nigga from the hood, to be honest with you. And I was always different. I never really considered myself a hood nigga, but I ran amongst them, so y'all know how it is, the sentiment towards whites, the especially black men, taking in white women. There becomes a disconnect. You become a target. You know the rules. You know what you're supposed to do. Even if you do, partake, it's not ever supposed to get that to that level. And I'd have had numerous examples of people who have gone before me, and I saw what they went through because of it.
Are you saying just off it being interracial?
Yeah, just simply because of that. But this segues into into the roles. So when things did get serious, I've always only ever wanted children in my whole life. I knew that from when I was a teenager. And all my cousins started having kids when they was 13, 14. You know what I'm saying? So it never happened from, all right, puppy, go. It never happened for me. And I didn't have children until I was 27. So after I graduated college, was done playing arena ball. You know what I'm saying? I felt like, my dream phase was winding down, and I needed to, pick a lane, make a decision, and live with it. And it happened to, the situation that I was in. It kind of bled into that. So like, I'm not saying it was like the lack of other options or whatever, but maybe I settled, and that kind of took a toll on how I treated her initially with the first one. The first child, it was more of an informal relationship. We weren't together, like Dex said. He was married for 4 years. That's amazing. I'm applaud that, because that's the plan, right? To get married, to selectively choose puppy. To selectively choose, to live your life together and then create life together. Dex, you live in a fucking dream, dog. I never met you before, but I can't wait to shake your hand. Come over and ask for some milk or something, dog. I'm coming right over there.
Definitely not perfect, man. Not perfect.
The perfect ones never admit to being perfect.
Right.
But yeah, I was like in and out the house. It was like more of an informal relationship. She reminds me to this day that she always felt alone. She always remembers herself being alone during the pregnancies. And that's something that I did not have a clear vision on, because I thought I was always there. I caught up in my own shit.
So
you know what I mean?
Are you saying you didn't go to the doctor's appointments?
With my first son, I was at every appointment.
So everybody said that, right? And I wanted to kind of dig into that. Like, everybody said, "Oh, I was at the doctor's appointments," and that's the kind of synopsis, right? But there gotta be more than that to show support. It can't just be showing up at the doctor's appointment, because you said you was at every one of them, and she still felt the love.
Yeah. I was that's not what it was about. It was more about picking up the slack around the house, doing the cleaning up, and just making, like, catering to her, babying her a little bit. Maybe I probably could have been a little more sensitive in that regard, and I wasn't.
Sensitivity, what's that?
Ralph Tresvant. But yeah, look, I probably could have been a little, but even still, at 27, I wasn't a mature 27, and there were a lot of things that I would definitely change if I could go back. One would be probably getting married before I started, shooting the club up. Yeah, I would have, you know what I'm saying? That should have been that's the path. That's ideally, I hope that's what my son does. And I hope that's what my daughters do too. But yeah, I think maybe staying around the house more, partying less. And then it's crazy too, because I know she's probably going to end up watching this, because I think she watched the last one. But she wasn't very active during her pregnancy. And that took a toll, because...
What do you mean active? Like, she got lazy around the house, or
no,
not active with you?
Yes.
Oh yeah, talk about it, because I think we all dealt with that, right? We all got our frustrations from that.
And that
they say, ironically, they say men cheat the most during that pregnancy time, but to women, that's like the most devastating. Like, if you hear like women talk like, he cheated on me while I was pregnant.
I was pregnant. Like, how? First of all, and that's the thing too, because I've had that, and then, like, it was crazy, because years later she was like, "Did you ever cheat while I was pregnant with?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Absolutely not. You're out of your fucking mind. What you think? You know what I'm saying? But that was a very, very, very rough part of life. And I can see how she sees that maybe I wasn't, you know what I mean, up like good enough. Maybe she, you know what I mean? I can understand where she's coming from when she says she felt alone, because there's looking back now, like, even though, I slept with her most nights, I kept myself busy. And a lot of that comes from having that pent up energy, feeling like you have to do something. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to displace or replace that attention that she's not willing to give you for that 9 months, for damn near a year, because there's months after that. You know what I'm saying? That we're, so
talk about it, right? So that's how you handle yours. I mean, that's how I handled mine, right? Like, we went somewhere else. I mean,
11 full months.
But how else are we supposed to handle that? Is the question. Let's talk about some solutions on how we're supposed to handle that pent up energy. You know what I mean? The right way. What's the right way to handle that?
Discipline.
Defer to Dex.
Discipline.
Look, Dex got all the answers, right? But no, Dex is a different guy, though. Like,
yeah, that's what I'll be saying. Like, I mean, that's what every situation for me, though. It's like.
So you're saying suffering and discipline is the same thing?
Nah, but
that's what you just said.
Mean, you could call it suffering if you want, but if you call suffering bringing pain to someone else, then okay, I can dig that. But for me, it was like, what
it's
I'm
not necessarily about bringing pain to anybody else.
Well, but that's exactly what you're doing intrinsically. So for me, it's like what I'm not going to do.
But it's not personal. It's not personal.
Everybody says that it's not personal to you, but it's personal to the person you're doing it to. So that's what I'm saying. So for me, it's always about, like, let me think about how I would feel if this was being done to me. So, during this time that I contributed to, because it takes two to tango, that I contributed to. Now that, and I mean, there's plenty of studies that say so women are. Let me finish a little bit. You know what I mean? That women are more active and more, I guess, sexually explosive during the times of pregnancy than some other times. That I decide that I'm going to do this in her most vulnerable, emotional, state that she can't control, that I contributed to, and I'm going to go and do what I need to do to take care of me. Like, to me, that's the ultimate selfishness, and to me, it's inconceivable to even move in that direction. So, for me, like I said, it's all about discipline. Like, you make the decision on the type of man that you want to be.
You know what they say, though? Put your mask on first before you put on anybody else's mask. How can you be the man you're supposed to be for her if you're not taken care
of? I don't think that's one and the same. Like, you could still put your mask on and put her mask on afterwards so she can breathe. You're not talking about life and death. You're talking about extracurricular.
No, that's extracurricular. I don't think it's extracurricular.
What? Why isn't it? It's not like food and water. It's not like food and water. So you're talking about extracurricular, and I get that.
Is it? I would like to say it is a part of food and water. I think it's what makes men productive, yo. It's the very thing that motivates men. If there was no that, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff in the world, man. We wouldn't be motivated to do any of this stuff.
What I would say is the man that can control that is more productive than the man that can't, because the man that can't is susceptible to a lot of I don't want to curse, but fuckery. You know what I mean? You're easily manipulated because you can't control your own self. You know what I mean? So for me, like I said, it all comes back to discipline, and you being disciplined enough to tell yourself and decide for yourself the type of man that you want to be and what you want to project. So like I said, to me, especially during that time, that's where it's like, it's extremely off limits to my own selfish needs. Like, I know, you know what I mean? Like, absolutely not. But I mean, like I said, everybody's different.
Being a month for the 10 months. That's what it really is. It's 10 months. You subscribe to being a month. So she's like, I'm not, don't touch me. You're like, I'm being a month.
That's crazy though. that's crazy because they only say like what they say 6 weeks after giving birth, you can't
So
have
it's
sex. Like,
so
during
it's
that
10
whole
months plus
9-10 months,
another 6
you can
weeks.
man,
So
during
that's
that whole
11
9-10
months.
months,
It's
you can
almost
shoot it
a
up.
year. It's almost
Yeah,
a
during that
year.
9-10 months, you can shoot it up, rub that belly and everything.
What if she's denying you that?
That's not how it was going down.
Yeah, what if
Yeah,
what if that's
they
denied
be
to you?
saying- they
There
be
was no
saying that from my
there was
experience.
none of that.
So you saying if the water was shut off?
My water got cut off like immediately to like 40, 30, 20, 2 weeks. 4 weeks. There was no more. The water was
I
off.
wonder why they do that though. 'Cause I never.
Well, it's probably because they don't feel supported. They don't feel loved in that moment. They don't feel emotionally protected. And from what you both said is you stepped away once you figured that out it was a girl. And what you said is that you was in there, but you were there, but you weren't really present. So the water got shut off because of you. It didn't get shut off because of how they were feeling. You weren't protecting their emotions.
I mean, that was the first. That was the first time for me. The
I
other
heard
3
that.
times I was fully engaged, but it still got, it still wasn't right.
No, Leland, what you absolutely. What's crazy is that as I've never heard a man say that to me, but I've heard that line verbatim from her, the people, my mom, and anyone else that tried to speak up on her behalf. Dog, that's crazy.
I told you.
Not even just in the moment, just about me being denied, like the water being off at any point. Not even just during the pregnancy, the water being off at any point. I've heard what you just said verbatim.
I mean, I literally live that because I am a nut. So I'm generally mostly never there emotionally, but I'm man enough to have that conversation and understand, why things are the way they are. So I know, like, sometimes I can't tap into that emotional side to be able to be there for you in the way that you need me to be there. And that is my punishment. And I can eat that in those moments. But if I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing and it's the water still cut off, oh shoot.
And
you know where
that control that she has loses value is when men have options. This is no longer relevant because I mean, like that comes into going into this, like having that plan, being married before you're doing all that stuff. Because if you're there and you're committed and all that, you're not, you know what I mean? Like, but boom, like I'm in a situationship. You know what I'm saying? And you feel like you're gonna enforce some type of authority and over me that I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, what's keeping me from not exercising these options? Like, not this, because I don't see one of these. I ain't asked you. We didn't go through that. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, so it took value away, from how important that process was, how important that relationship was, because A, I wasn't married, and B, there were other, like, it's crazy. I posted some shit on Facebook. It said, women like men that other women like. You know what I'm saying? A woman sees you on your shit with a girl, that don't know she's pregnant. You know what I mean? Don't know y'all doing that stuff, and that makes you more attractive to other women. They want to see if they could tap in, or if they got what it takes to turn your attention away from that. And me being, I was getting excited by my lower 3 chakras being, engaged on a simple, just sexual level, stimulated level, and I took from myself and from my family and from the woman that was carrying the only thing that I ever wanted in my life. You know what I mean? But because it made me feel better in the moment. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
I mean, would you say those moments though, like you go out, get your moment, and you come back and you good?
Yeah.
Look, Dex, yeah, go ahead, speak, Dex. I want you to say something, man.
Look, I totally agree with L up there on every level. every single level. Discipline is key, right? I don't want to put myself in a situation that I'm gonna find regretful like later on, right? So I try to be mindful, right? Like, why would I want to put myself out there in the situations where those women might, do certain things or whatever and try and like trick you and all this type of stuff, man. Like I just try to avoid all of that completely. You know what I mean? I just focus on the kingdom. And yeah, that's me. That's me. I like my life a certain type of way, and as much as possible, I'm trying to control that.
I know you look like you want to say something, Rod.
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
No, that's because you smart, Dex. You smart, dog.
Look, man, we all know Dex's background is a little bit more defined than the rest of ours, right? But
Yeah, my first one was bad. Like I didn't get cut off, but I was still indulging and got caught.
I mean, were you in the situation? Were y'all together or what? How?
No, we weren't. But I don't think they really care about that. Like to them, y'all together, so that's what it is. Like I've had a lot of conversations with women where they be like, my perception is, my reality. So whatever they thinking in their head is the truth for them. You can be like, I ain't with you all day, but if y'all doing things that say we together, then y'all together.
I mean, so Mike said some very good, important things, right? Not having the proper format takes down the value of those processes, man.
Yeah, they do.
And you want those things. Like my first two weren't born or weren't conceived in that. You know what I mean? My second two were, but my first two weren't conceived in that manner. And the value of it, right? Like it got to a point where it was like there was a situation in between where I was still shooting the club up, and I wouldn't put that money down, right? So it was like one of those times where I was like, well, the first situation is so bad, I don't want the second. I don't want to put another kid in the situation we got, because it was kind of like how Big Mike was explaining. We're not together. We barely like each other. A lot of fighting back and forth, and like it was crazy, right? So I didn't want to put another child in the situation, and not only that, I didn't want to be completely bogged down to this person, because it was like, one, you can get away with, but two, man, you got to buckle in and stay here for that one. Like, you know what I mean? There's no way you could leave somebody with two. Long story short, I still didn't complete that situation. I left it. You know what I mean? For a lack of a lot of things I didn't understand on how to lead at the time. But I left that situation thinking I could still get better, even with, two with my first kid's mom, right? I don't like to say baby mom or nothing like that.
Yeah,
but it was just it was tough, right? And I would actually say my second one got here because I was trying to make it work for the first one. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how it went, right? Like, let's make it work for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had another, I'm still being irresponsible about how I'm shooting it up. You know what I'm saying? We go ahead and put, get the money paid for that one. Then she felt guilty and, was like, no, I need you to, she ain't necessarily communicate that, but it was one of those don't pull out situations again, which I was reckless. I'm acting like I don't got control, but I do. You know what I'm saying? I got to take accountability for my lack of control in those situations, and got her pregnant a third time. And that's how we ended up with two. But that situation, the second one wasn't any better, you know what I mean, than the first time around. So it was, but it's all the struggles of not doing it, doing things out of order. You know what I mean? And if I would have did, if we all did things like Dex here, right? the order would be a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? There wouldn't be so much strife. But because a lot of us were careless, in our young age, and
You,
how we
you
moved.
didn't. I mean, well, me in my situation, I didn't necessarily have those positive influences in my life, so I was stepping out just purely on because it was just the thing to do at the time, and I was young. And every time the females would come to the house and be like, "How many girlfriends you got now, Gerard? How many girlfriends you got now, Rod?" Like, just making it a spectacle, and it's like cool. So
I'm just one thing, right?
Yep.
So like we talk about the positive role models and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of them is what y'all, people say causes them to make certain bad decisions or decisions that they, aren't 100% happy about later on, right? So how much control do you have? Just a general question, right? How much control do you have now to be that positive role model that you wish you had? So when your sons see how you're interacting like every day, like they don't make certain mistakes. You know what I mean? They live life in a certain type of, or try to live their life in a certain type of path. Like
Right.
what are
I mean,
you?
I grew up and matured as a man, and like I talk to and work with my sons often, so hopefully they don't have to make the same mistakes that I did, and they won't, because they're already pretty good. They're focused on their academics, which I wanted them to, and they're not into any crazy stuff. So like I don't think they'll have that issue at all.
I think at this point we're all focused on breaking the curses.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right. You know what I mean? Like everybody that comes on this panel, I don't think there's been one dad on the panel that's, not for the forward movement of our community and making sure the next generation is better. I think that's what it's all about. So, and I think this is a part of it. You know what I mean? Is letting people know that these feelings are okay and there's better sides to however we felt when these things were happening. You know what I mean? There's definitely things I would have did differently. I wouldn't have went out of order. And frankly, if anybody even asked me anything about how to have kids or whatever, I'd be like, don't go out of order. Get married first. You know what I mean? Don't never, no matter what, don't you ever have a kid at a wedlock. You know what I mean? It's not ideal. You know what I mean? And beyond ideal is it just causes too much strife. It's quite unnecessary. You might as well just go on living your life and being happy that way.
Yeah, even that, I'm pretty sure that little exchange helped change a young man's life.
I mean, the way I look at it is I don't necessarily look at it in a vacuum, like to say that, to be married before you have kids is the better way. How I look at it is from having kids with the person that's right for you is probably the better way to look at this whole thing, because you could be married to the wrong person and have kids and it be an abysmal mistake and you regret it the whole time. So, marriage, it's the key, and it probably is the prototype situation, but you want to make sure that you're marrying the right person. You can marry anybody off the street and then, have kids with them and it just be a horrible situation. I mean, I've seen it so many times in my family where it's just, it make your life a living hell. And that's why I always tell, anybody who asks me and they're like, should I marry you? And I'm like, yeah, you don't have to be married to be a good dad. You know what I mean? Maybe this one ain't the right one for you. Y'all at your throats, at each other's throats all the time. You're fighting all the time. You can't come to a general consensus. Like maybe this isn't the right one for you. And some people can navigate through that, through that situation and be able to, have that communication where they can maybe become more compatible. But not every situation is a situation that's supposed to be forever. So it's difficult to be making forever decisions with somebody who's not meant to be forever.
So there's this notion of the one, right? And I just don't believe in the one.
Yeah, me neither.
So when you say that, I know what you're saying, and I know you're not being as literal as I'm about to, you know what I mean? But I just don't believe there's no such thing as the one. You know what I mean? I think they all can be the one if you lead it right, but you just gotta lead it right. And sometimes it's too late, sometimes it's too far gone for you to, kind of change the way. Yeah, I don't. I don't believe in that one.
You're not gonna always be the one. So you talk about leading a situation, you can't lead a situation where you're not even a leader. You know what I mean? You can't be the head of something when you don't even have control over your own life and your own decisions. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's times and places for different things. So I just feel like there's certain situations and certain times that are just perfect for each other. Like, I've had situations with people in the past where I thought, man, these people were amazing. They're perfect, but it wasn't the right time for me. So if I would have made the decision based off of that person in that moment and not where I was at in that moment, it would have been the worst decision of my life.
It could have been, but that don't mean if you were ready at that time, though, that person could have been better for what you got right now. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying there's no one. There's a lot of them that can fill the role. You just you're a company and you got a job that needs filled. And it don't matter who that person is as long as they can do that job. There is no one candidate. There is no one. Go ahead, Dax. Go ahead, say what you're gonna say, bro.
I was gonna say there may not be one, but there's definitely better ones than others, right? So
I would agree to that for sure. For sure.
So yeah, get close to the one if possible, but there is no
one, but get as close as you can.
Right. That's why they say you can have multiple like soul ties and connections with people. It just depends on that type. I mean, that specific person and the way they think.
This isn't a one-woman job. I found that out. I knew that a long time ago because it's crazy because my life has a bunch of different sections. You know what I'm saying? That most people can't relate to all of them. I think I might be the only person that can relate to every aspect of my life. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Kev, you come pretty fucking close. But, once we kick over to the other side of things, like you have a little bit of trouble keeping up.
Like, yeah, go that way. I'm good.
You know what I'm saying? So when there is, like Kev said, it is a business, and you have to do what it takes to make sure your business is running efficiently and as effectively as possible. There are partners that are better than others, but there are some serviceable pieces that are required for the operation to run smoothly. That may not be favorable as the others, that may not look the same in the light as the others, but are plumb necessary for this thing to go right. So unless you have this, you know what I'm saying? Then it becomes one. Now you're
even still. I think even with that though, I don't.
All right, Kev.
Look,
all your eggs are in one basket. When this is required, it becomes a one-woman job.
Yo, I just heard a skit that said about all your eggs in one basket, and then like, what if you can make more eggs?
No, that was Kobe.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like they say, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but what if you can make more eggs? Hey, that's kind of dope, right? Like,
all I'm saying is, once you're married, you have no choice but to put it all in one woman.
There's
and if she doesn't, and if she can't hold up,
then what?
If she, that's on you to deal with it. That was your decision. You, for better or for worse, in sicknesses and health. You know what I mean?
Divorce and half. That's what you're talking about. Divorce and half. That's what 80% of the population says. Something like that. Divorce and half. Because there is no just work. Most people, especially in our culture, we're not working through these difficult times anymore like we might have been back in the day where grandma and grandpa was, you know, dealing with each other still. While grandpa was having kids with, you know, X amount of women and they were still married. Like the women ain't dealing with that anymore in our culture.
Everybody-
Yes, they
You know,
are.
that's more in
Yes,
other
they are.
cultures.
Yes, they
Some-
are.
Not,
Yes, they
not in
are.
the same numbers. Definitely
Yeah,
not in the same numbers.
No, I can't. We can't say that. We don't know the numbers.
I first of all, I do know the numbers because women are more educated now, and they're less likely to take the same level of bullcrap from the same type of dude
Man,
who
only
is
the
less
ugly women are
educated.
educated. So, you know,
the divorce rate is higher.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. But I get your point.
just kidding. Just
But that's
kidding.
not true. That's not true. Women in general are more educated. Black women in general are more educated than the black
Man,
men.
being educated in African studies is not. That's not more educated than a plumber.
They're educated as doctors. They're educated as lawyers. They're educated as nurses. They're
That's
educated.
some, but that's not all. That's not the majority.
Now, look at the numbers before you
Look at
start
the
running your
numbers.
mouth.
Most women are
No, you
getting
didn't.
degrees in,
No, you
in
didn't.
things that
You didn't look at the
liberal
numbers,
arts.
Cav. You didn't look at the numbers, Kev. But what I'm gonna say,
what's going on?
what
with
I'm gonna
you
say
women,
is
Kev?
they are less likely to take your match for long-term situations. They might take it for a short-term gratification, but they're not going to take it for the long term. It's way different than it was in the past.
I think that's
My grandma
that goes
didn't even
to.
graduate from high school. You know what I mean? So now you're talking about they got doctorates and masters, and dudes barely graduated from high school.
Yeah,
They
that's
got
true.
options.
That's true.
They got options now. Listen,
But they're all choosing the same guy. So that guy is still doing whatever he wants.
For gratification, not for long term. They ain't giving them half of their money. They ain't, you know what I mean? Like they're controlling this situation, not the other way around.
I have a lot of
also, you know what I think too? I think the few may have a louder, like what we're saying. The few that you're talking about, Kev, they have a louder
You
microphone.
mean Leafer?
They have a no.
The few
I'm talking about the few that you're talking about because I believe I might be. I think I'm on the side of Leafer right now. I think that you're talking about, Kev. You're talking about the exceptions. I think you're talking about the minority.
I'm talking about the rule.
No. I think Leafer's talking about the rule. I think there are more decent women that just they're not out there that we can't hear them. You know what I'm saying? Because they're present and accounted for, and they know. You know what I mean? What it is like the women that you're talking about are the ones that we see on the internet with the loudest voices, the ones that are most popular, the ones that we're watching, the pretty ones, the ones that are getting that are doing things out in the forefront. You know what I'm saying? The single women, but I believe that there is an entire what is that? Not community, but I believe that most women. Or what Leland is saying, that most women are decent. Most women are willing to work through things. Most women are unscorned.
For certain guys, is what I'm saying. There's a level of guy that you have to be for you to get the woman to cooperate with you, is what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
That's true.
What you said is that they were the ugly girls.
I was just kidding. When I showed this up,
Were the
right?
ones who were educated.
I was
That's
trying
what
to
you
just
say
said.
it out
kidding.
loud.
So what you said and what you mean was two different things.
Look, all I'm saying is, you're saying women won't work with you. I'm saying women will work with you.
I'm not saying they won't work with you.
He's
What
saying
I'm saying
less
is less likely to take.
in this time.
In these times, women will work with
the
you.
Divorce, the divorce rate is higher with women. They leaving.
Well, right. You can't deny that fact. But I'm just saying, the rule still applies if you're a certain guy.
Right. Are you talking about that 1%, the one that everybody's chasing?
I don't think it's necessarily 1%. I think it might be a 15%. Right?
I don't know if it's a 15% because they're not saying like the evidence.
No, there's what do they say? It's like 30% of guys are being sexually active, right? So as long as you're within that 30%.
But sexually active and married.
Who's going to cooperate with you? You're depending on where you range in that 30%. That's that's different. But as long as you're in the 30, somebody's cooperating with you.
For life or for a period of time?
For life. I would
I
say,
think you're
look,
absolutely wrong.
there's a
But
reason
that's
why pimps
fine.
are bad.
Pimps are good for the economy. What are we talking about?
Because pimps are good for the economy.
They
So no,
filter out the ones that we don't need to marry. You
I
know
don't
what I
want to.
mean?
I don't want to miss out
right.
on the next point though. Let's kind of segue, right? I don't want to miss out on the next point. I want to kind of get this right. So, we could kind of not wrap it up, but go into some depth about once the baby's here, right? After we go through all these motions, voila, the baby's here. Um, what's our role at that point, right? For these newborns, for our infants, toddler stage, like you know what I mean? Like, where do we step in? What's our role? How do we support? How do we take over? How do we manage? How do we lead? What do we got to do? What's going on with us during this stage?
I know when me and my kid's mother came home, I was picking up a lot of the slack. I was cleaning. I was waking up at 3 in the morning every day, changing diapers, stuff like that. Because I know, like she had to have a C-section, so she was cut open and stuff. And she was, dealing with that's postpartum and all of that other stuff. So I just made sure I was there to alleviate a lot of the stuff that she was going through. She was still going through stuff, but it wasn't crazy because like I was there. But my role was to make sure just to make sure that the kids were good and she ain't had nothing to worry about while she was healing and stuff like that.
I felt like naturally, because of my upbringing, and I gave y'all a little background on my situation a little bit earlier, and just in how we are as a people, naturally, I was more maternal initially than she was for probably until the third kid. So I was not even on a hook because honestly, I enjoyed it. I said I never wanted anything else but kids. You know what I mean? So I did everything except breastfeed. You know what I'm saying? And she's a professional, so she 4 or 5 weeks she was back out the door working 8 to 4, 8 to 5. You know what I'm saying? And it was me with a newborn in the house. You know what I'm saying? It was I was pretty much mom. For all 4 of them, to be honest. Well, maybe not the third one. It kind of happened when I ended up in the oil field and working 100 hours a week, coming home for 24 hours and back out. She got pregnant in that cycle at some point, but I barely even was seeing her. You know what I'm saying? So that might have been the only time. But shortly after that baby came, I was done with that shit too, because I wasn't missing out on, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm kind of addicted to I don't know what it is, but whatever it was, I loved it. And I can't get enough of my kids. You know what I'm saying? I can't, I didn't want to miss any part of anything. You know what I mean? So, and then like another thing too, just knowing that she wasn't as, particular and detailed and shit. Like I've been around, children my whole life. And, my sister's best friend had a baby that died, from congestion and or what is that? What called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. There were people. I've known people. That was my worst fear. So once my kids came, I couldn't sleep. I didn't have to get up at 3:30, so I was already up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm poking the baby to make sure they still breathing. You know what I'm saying? Smelling their air. Like, whoa, come on now. No, just come on. You know what I'm saying? So, that was my role. Like, and you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy because now, like, once they're out of that stage and they start toddling and growing and shit, mom becomes more attractive. But, the foundation is set. And to this day, you can see, you know what I'm saying? I'm still getting paid residuals from that work, so maybe it was worth it. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, it
no,
was worth
it's
it.
gonna be worth. It's worth it. That's dope. It's dope. It's dope, but it's not. And I mean, I'm explaining. I'm explaining in mind.
There's another side of that coin.
Yeah, there's two sides of that.
Subject that for another show. But there's another side of that coin.
Dexter Leifer, how's y'all? What role are you currently playing? Because both of you guys just dropped one. So,
Yeah, so my son's about to be 2 months old, so I'm in the field right
Congratulations.
now. Thank you. So yeah, I mean, just pretty much what Big Mike said. I'm doing everything but breastfeeding, right? So I'm up, making sure he's breathing, doing all of that same stuff too. Um, for whatever reason, right now he does not like to sleep by himself yet. And I feel guilty like just hearing him cry. So pretty much I hold him, do all of that stuff.
Good,
So
right here, dog. Dog, you good. You hear
and I
my
don't
heart?
sleep
Yeah.
as a result, but it is what it is, right? So just picking up whatever slack I can, man, and definitely helping my wife through postpartum and all that stuff as well, too. So yeah, just doing what you're supposed to do.
I wasn't aware of how real postpartum was, and I did not recognize that until shit after the fourth one. I knew there was something wrong with after the second one, but postpartum, guys, please, to be a little more sensitive, be a little more, because that shit's dumb real, like, and it comes and it goes and it comes, but you can help it, you know what I mean, by just being a little more cognizant of what's off, you know what I mean. So that temperature, that frequency feel off, you know what I'm saying. You notice some distance, like, or you know what I mean, like, don't be pushy, but just try to like be supportive.
You understanding? Yeah.
Put your arms
What's crazy? That could be part of the reason why we get so frustrated, not even realizing what's going on with her with the postpartum, and we get I don't like an attitude around me. Like, I hate an attitude. Like, so I don't want any no snappy this blah blah blah. Don't say nothing smart. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not. That's just not my vibe. So like catching that's one of those moments where be like, oh, you got an attitude? All right, I'll be back. You know what I mean?
Ignorant, yeah.
Yeah, like, just completely ignorant of what's going on, you know what I mean? And she may or may not be able to control that, right? So it's kind of wild.
And they don't really know how to communicate when that stuff's going on either.
Right.
Something's off, and they like super emotional, going through all kinds of crazy stuff.
And that's what being married, dog. That's what being married, like, instead of like because I know for a fact, because I was not married to the situation, like Kev said, like, oh, this bitch acting funny, and you acting weird, like, about the baby. Like, I gotta do all this shit, and you know what?
I'll be back.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, like, you gotta be kidding me, dog. You know what I'm saying? This 15, 16, 17 years ago, you know what I mean? Like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like, I wish I had this panel and we had Zoom.
When you was going through.
Yeah, like this shit.
What you got, Leifer?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy for me because, you know what I mean? I try to look at things through everybody's lens, right? So, you know what I mean? I'm always looking through, how things might affect my wife, how, things might affect other people around, how things might affect my kids, you know what I mean? So I know how things affect me already. So it's just like when I'm dealing with these situations, like I was looking at my wife, I think, early on, like the first couple weeks or whatever, like they got this thing in their family where either her mom or her aunt come and stay with whoever in the family just had a kid, and they work them through that, that period where they have to heal, where they're healing their bodies, and they're just here to help out and make sure that she is okay. You know what I mean? So we had her I think her aunt came up for a couple weeks, you know what I mean, for a few weeks or something, and it just was there, helping out with the baby, just making sure that she was good and everything. And I was just trying to stay the heck out the way because I was like, this is kind of my first time in this mix, you know what I mean? So I don't want to create any undue stress, and I don't want to be in the way. So I'm like, I'll just wait till they call my number. So I was just standing out the way. But in the mix of all that, like since the baby was born, because I think they came like a week after the baby was born. But since the baby was born, I was like, like I wanted to be involved in, you know, changing diapers and feedings and all of that stuff because I wanted to make sure that everything was okay. You know, I wanted to see that the baby was peeing regularly, pooping regularly, you know, all that type of stuff. So I was involved from day one. Then the moment the aunt came, I just kind of backed out and just kind of let her do her thing and just kind of watched her and kind of seen her in the motion. And most of the time she saw me like jumping in when, you know, maybe she wasn't, you know, she wasn't around or something, or maybe she had to run off and do something and the baby is in the crib and she see me come in there, come changing diaper and everything. And she's like, oh, y'all good. You know what I mean? He's like super involved and super helpful. So y'all really don't need me here. So she ended up leaving early. And you know what I mean? Like, I mean, to this day, like my baby's about 9 months now. You know, I'm still involved. Like we have a kind of have a schedule. You know, if the baby's crying in the middle of the night, wants a bottle, I get up, I go make the bottle. She feed him the bottle. You know, and you know, during the day, like I was blessed during the pandemic to be able to work from home. So the baby was kind of a pandemic baby. So you know what I mean? Like, so I've been working from home ever since then. So I've been kind of like playing that pseudo mom role. You know what I mean? So I just work from home and I'm taking care of the baby. Like we have a nanny that come in during the day, you know, while I'm working, but I'm still around the baby and kind of just being there and making my presence felt and building that relationship. So, you know what I mean? It's a little bit different, you know what I mean? But I try to make sure that I'm super involved. But I was even like that with my daughter, you know what I mean? I made my schedule to work out with whatever was going on with her. Made sure I was dropping her off at school, picking her up. You know what I mean? I just want to be a dad that's involved in, you know, every aspect of my kid's life, other than freaking chauffeuring around that I'm at right now because he's 15. But you know what I mean? Other than that, like I just wanted to be involved in every aspect, so I knew that my baby was okay.
So I have a 2-part series of this, right? You know, I have 4, right? So I have 2 with one and 2 with the wife, and it was the first 2. I took on the role that, you know, I guess all you guys took on, the Mr. Mom, do everything up in the middle of the night. You know, like even from the time we was in the hospital, like she didn't have to touch a diaper. Like these are my babies. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm completely engaged to everything. Like you know what I mean? Here's what's wild. This is like just to kind of show how much of a turbulence we were in. We didn't speak the whole time we were in the hospital. Like I hated her guts, but I was in the hospital room with her all those days to do everything for that baby. You know, for both of them. Like you know what I mean? Like there was like it was absolute. Just I couldn't stand this person, but I was with my current wife now while we were having a second baby, which is crazy. You know what I mean? But you know, I was like I said, I was in the hospital from the time, and it was just like I'm doing everything for this baby that I can, right, Mr. Mom. To fast forward, when I had kids by my wife, it was a complete 180. I did nothing, absolutely nothing. Right, I relished in the whole idea of the structure. I'm not being Mr. Mom nothing. You know what I mean? I didn't. I let her completely bond with the babies. Like you know what I mean? Like everything. Like I wasn't changing diapers. I wasn't doing nothing. Right, and I took complete advantage. And I don't know if she like seeing like, oh, he's a good dad from the first 2. Is I treat the second 2 completely different. You know what I mean? Like, but it's like I feel like I did the work and I put the structure in place for everything to go smooth. You know what I mean? For the second 2, opposed for the first 2, I have felt more of a overcompensating. You know what I mean? I had to overcompensate for that. On them second 2, I just be like, you know what I mean? On straight chill. And you know, maybe I should do a better job. I ain't going front. But that's just where I'm at. I no longer feel like I need to overcompensate, and I mean, it has a lot to do with who I picked.
Why
You know,
you feel like why you describe it as overcompensating?
because I felt like there's the nurturing thing shouldn't come from us, right? There should be a little bit, right? And it's not typically expressed through culture that nurturing comes from us, from men. You know what I mean? Like we know different being in the place we are at now, right? But for the first two, like I had to do all the nurturing. I had to do the training, the potty training, the just the weird stuff. Like not weird stuff, but the stuff that I was like, I think we talked about having daughters and them coming on their periods at some point, right? And dealing with that when that came, like OMG. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said, I handled that completely wrong with all those different things, right? And I'm not saying she wasn't completely around, or I did it like 100 by myself, but not having a partner with me through the days is you know what I mean? Like single parent thing, you got your days, I got my days, and we're all on our own. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of things that you have to do that you don't necessarily have to do when both of you are there all the time. You know what I mean? So like as of now, like, she complains like they're always calling me. Like they're always calling me, they're always in my face, this and that. And I was like, it ain't my time yet. They're 4 and 7. I'll kick in when they're about 9, 12, 16. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I'm thinking about the second two. The first two, I've been there from day one, and from in the womb. Like, you know what I mean? Like, well, not technically, but you understand what I'm saying? Because there was no in the womb connection between us, the first two. But so yeah, I don't know. What, like I said, my role, the first two, I was completely like Mr. Mom in it. Now I'm all dad in it. Like, there ain't no ifs, ands, and buts about it. So, any closing? Anything y'all want to say to close or elaborate on how we felt?
I mean, we going a little long. You got something to say, right?
No, no, sir.
Okay. I mean, we're going a little long, and that's fine. But I mean, for me, it's like I feel like the way that I grew up, and I came in a two-person household, and mom was mom and dad was dad, and that was fine. But I feel like, understanding and knowing what I know now, like I don't really look at it in the same lens. Like I don't look at it as mom being mom and dad being the dad. I look at it as being parents. And there's moments where they gonna need different stuff from both of us. You know what I mean? Like, my daughter, she is, like I say all the time, she is she's an emotional being, and her love language is that physical touch. So she always needs to hug, and she always needs these things. So I got to be able to express that in that way for her. I mean, like I said, my son, he's 9 months old, but I'm already thinking in my head like 10 years, 20 years down the line about how I'm gonna have to address this, and I'm gonna have to talk to him. So I'm always thinking that emotional aspect has to always be there. You can't negate that, because you have to be able to teach your kids emotional intelligence, so they're not out here in the world just being nutballs. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that I'm being able to teach them, emotional intelligence, and how to, be responsible with their emotions, so they're just not out here grasping at straws and just, being all over the place. So it's not like I'm trying to play both roles, but I'm just trying to play the dad role in a different way. You know what I mean? Where I am supportive and educating at the same time.
You didn't say nurturing, so we're good.
I mean, I'm nature over nurture all day, but you know what I mean. I definitely feel like that's mom's, more of a mom role. You know what I mean, in that aspect, because the nurturing aspect is not necessarily the same as the emotional aspect. Like it's part of it, but it's the nurturing is something completely different that I can't connect with.
So yeah, I think we're good, right? Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Round of applause for you guys. And I guess we'll see the world next Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
For sure.
All right, fellas. Sign out.
You say.